time to talk about something that people describe as being one of the examples of the prime TV era, or whatever you want to call it, Mad Men. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. It's been on my list for ages. It might even be a decade at this point. I really can't say. I know that Mad Men, I can even for some reason remember very specifically that it's one of the first things I ever put on my Netflix watch list. Don't ask me why. I didn't even watch on Netflix. It took me that long to watch it. It's long gone from Netflix, at least in my country, to watch on Disney Plus. Anyway. But yeah, it's been on my list for so long. People talk about it's like, oh, you have to watch Mad Men. I was like, okay, I mean, I like John Hamm, so probably yes, you know. And now I've finally done it. I'm very happy that I did. It's a really interesting show. I can see, you know, how when it came out in the mid to late 2000s, you know, that people were just really taken in by it because, yeah, it seemed to be going a lot further than your typical TV show did at that point. So, yes, I absolutely do understand that. Now, if you're not familiar with Mad Men, I wasn't either. I just knew the title and I knew that it's set something like in the 50s, 60s, you know, something like that. Didn't really know much about it other than that. Yeah, if you're not familiar, we are focused on basically the advertising industry. We've got several characters working either in one specific company or over several, you know, maybe they might be adversaries, things like that. And we're following their paths, not just in the advertising industry, not just in their daily work, but also in their private family lives, right? We do have one main character, I would say that though. While we have a lot of characters that we spend a lot of time with, we mainly are focused on Don Draper is his name, the character's name. He's played by John Hamm. Yeah, he is this, I'll call it guru in the advertising industry. He is a creative director, so he is incredibly, you know, creative, obviously. He always seems to have that one knack, you know, to make one project just fit, or just be add that one little thing that will make the client interested in their work and eventually agree to it. Very charming, you know, wearing the suits and everything. You know, a very handsome man as well. So basically, it seems from our perspective, he has the perfect life. You know, he gets all the clients, he gets all the women he wants, and everything just seems to fall in his lap. He always knows what to say, etc., etc. That's the facade that you're basically treated to at the start. As the show develops, we discover they're not just him, but a lot of many other characters. You know, especially back then. I mean, you've got topics like misogyny in there. Obviously, you've got topics of racism in there because 60s, you know, in America, obviously a very big topic. Many other things thrown in. We've got themes of just growing up, you know, yeah. Education, you know, becoming an adult, all these kind of things, because Don Draper, he's got kids, and especially with his daughter Sally, there's a lot of problems over the years, and all these kind of things. So we've got various topics that we discover, you know, not everything is as picture perfect as it might seem it is at first. But the title, I've been wondering about the title throughout the whole show, but I do suppose it's quite fitting, because most often, at least I find myself going, these men, what the hell are they doing? They really are mad at times, because they do a lot of things where you're like, this is just, you know, it's either completely out of hand, you know, what they're doing, or you know, they're just like, to hell with the consequences, I'm just going to go with my impulse in this moment, making terrible decisions, or you're sitting there going, this is going to backfire in the worst of ways, you know. So it keeps you on the edge of the seat, right? Because these men at times, it's interesting because generally speaking, a lot of the things that they do are very deplorable, how they treat women, how they sometimes treat each other, all these kind of things. But at the same time, there's usually, with every character, there's at least some element where you're like, I kind of like him though. Feel bad myself for admitting to that, but that's just how, it just shows how well it's written, and I believe that is one of the main focuses or the main points that people have when they, well, either first discovered this show or what really gave it a rise in popularity. it felt kind of relatable still. But it's also about the fascination of obviously past decades, the nostalgia, because I mean, you know, the men, they're all wearing these great suits, you know, wearing a hat. They've got their little bars in their offices, drinking whiskey all day and smoking and all these things. It's a very, I suppose it kind of taps into that sort of romantic nostalgia that many people have when they look past on past decades, where we all imagine that life back then was better because it was a lot, you know, calmer, not less hectic, and all these kind of things, and everyone was just polite and cool and blah 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 blah. So it really kind of takes all these elements and combines them. It's got interesting characters, great writing, I feel. The storylines are good as well. I think that they really did find a good point to stop it. It's got 7 seasons, right? I mean, I do, for my taste, I think they could have ended it a bit sooner, because you do notice when you watch it like I did, obviously this is a TV show that went on for years and years and years, but when you watch it condensed like I did, you really do realise or recognise that a lot of the storylines, they kind of feel a bit repetitive, right? It feels like the same things keep happening. Usually when we need a big shake-up, there's one company that buys up and swallows the other, and suddenly they have to work with all these other people who they really are not compatible with, or who previously might have even been their adversaries or something like that, you know. And generally as an instrument, that's fine, but again, it feels a bit repetitive because it doesn't happen just one time. Yeah, so I think they stopped just before they might have gotten into that thing where it would have gotten a bit like that. It's a bit, to me, it feels like a bit like Suits in that sense, or the other way around. Suits feels a bit similar to this in that way, where if we need a big story shake-up, we'll usually just have one big agency swallow up the other. So it feels very similar in that sense. But yes, there's no denying that there's a lot of great aspects to this. I really enjoyed it. Just in the same way that Fallout has old music, it's similar here as well. I really enjoy that kind of thing. But it's mainly the characters. I felt some of them just, yeah, I was always drawn to for different reasons, but usually just because they're really interesting. I mean, you've got a lot of great actors here. To single some out, I do feel the need to single some out. It doesn't mean the others aren't great, but it's just, to me, they are really the standout characters, not just because of the acting, but also just the characters themselves in the whole show. Obviously, you've got Don Draper, played by John Hamm. He is the main person. He, for most people, will be the job, because he is the worst. You're watching this guy. It does feel like watching a slow motion train crash at times, because you're like, oh my God, why is he doing this now? Why is he sabotaging himself in the most horrible way? You know, it's just, it keeps you coming back. And you're like, if I lived like him, I would be clinically dead already, right? I mean, just the amount of, I like drinking alcohol. I like drinking whiskey, but I mean, the excess that is shown on screen is just absolutely crazy, right? You've got Elizabeth Moss. She plays Peggy Olson. She first is a secretary who eventually becomes a copywriter. So she has to every day struggle with men, you know, not really taking her serious. You know, trying to make sure they realise her worth in the company as her, you know, in her work as copywriter, you know, and her value, etc. She constantly has to fight for that, you know. It's really interesting to watch her. I mean, this was before The Handmaid's Tale. I mainly know her from The Handmaid's Tale, so it was quite cool to see her from something else where she's got such a big role. Christina Hendricks, she plays Joan Harris. She is like the woman in the office who knows what's going on, you know, just she knows everything. And she also has her own struggles, because she is portrayed as this woman who's desired by every man. You know, she's really desirable by everyone with all her curves, etc. She while she has got, you know, so many skills, etc., and especially her knowledge, it's still, eventually it'll always come back to that. And, you know, just, it really makes you think about these topics and the struggles that women have had mainly in their, well, just their work life, you know, just trying to be professional about it, and then people will still expect you to sleep your way up or whatever, you know, all these kind of things. You've got John Slattery, probably my favourite actor in the whole thing. He plays Roger Sterling. He's sort of like the, let's call it the buddy of Don Draper in a way. I mean, he's like his boss, but then they're kind of buddies throughout the whole series. And he is probably the most chaotic of all of them, because he's like, I don't care, you know, he's like, he comes in, he just says what he does, or if he's not happy with a situation, he'll just go. And I just, there's so much humour for me. There was so much humour involving this character. I just loved him from start to finish. And the last one I'll mention is Vincent Kartheiser. He plays a character called Pete Campbell, who starts as a sort of lower employee. Well, not low, but you know, he's not quite a partner yet, and he works his way up to become a partner. Possibly the most detestable character in the whole thing, you know, because he's a sort of weasel, and he does a lot of things where you're like, oh, it really, you know, makes your stomach churn a bit, because you're like, oh God, you know. And it's interesting how they develop his character over the seasons, because by the end you're like, you know, I'm kind of on board with Pete. But still, yeah, really well done. And there's so many other characters I haven't mentioned. You know, I'm sure everyone will have their favourite, because you get so many weird and wonderful characters pop up over the seasons. Various actors come in. It's really good. I really understand why it's such a beloved show. Yeah, I don't have much criticism about it, except that, again, just feels like it gets a bit repetitive just as a whole. And well, the last season I feel they could have cut short a bit. But other than that, it really is very entertaining. So if you do have that sort of romantic nostalgia about past decades, and here especially the 60s, I feel you should watch Mad Men. It's definitely worth your time, you know. It's just, yeah, interesting character study. Yeah, right. That will be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about anything you want to say about Mad Men. I mean the show. I know men are mad, you know, in daily life, but we're talking about the show here, okay? So anything you want to say, put that down in the comments below. I'll thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care.